The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. On that day, Jesus went out of the house and sat down by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. And he spoke to them at length in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground where it had little soil. It sprang up at once because the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. But some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit, 100 or 60 or 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The disciples approached him and said, Why do you speak to them in parables? He said to them in reply, Because knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been granted to you, but to them it has not been granted. To anyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. From anyone who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because they look but they do not see, and hear but do not listen or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, You shall indeed hear but never understand. You shall indeed look but never see. Gross is the heart of this people. They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and be converted, and I heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. Amen, I say to you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see but did not see it, and to hear what you hear but did not hear it. Hear then the parable of the sower. The seed sown on the path is the one who hears the word of the kingdom without understanding it. The evil one comes and steals away what was sown in his heart. The seed sown on rocky ground is the one who hears the word and receives it at once with joy, but it has no root and lasts only for a time. When some tribulation or persecution comes because of the word, he immediately falls away. The seed sown among thorns is the one who hears the word, but then worldly anxiety and the lure of riches choke the word, and it bears no fruit. But the seed sown on rich soil is the one who hears the word of God and understands it, who indeed then bears fruit 160 or 30-fold. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
I thought I would share a few words with the families over here. The three families have been, okay, a little different today. So, 3 kids getting baptized. What's your name again? Haley. And your name? Alyssa. And you, young person? Huh? Damien. I'll try to remember your names, and if I don't, it's just a matter of my age. Okay, so don't worry about it. But look at these families here, you guys. In fact, I said, yeah, you too. I remember you got baptized how many weeks ago? Not that long ago. That was Easter or Holy Saturday night when he got baptized, along with Mom. I'll never forget that night. And where's he at? Yeah, but you guys got baptized that time. How happy we were that night. And it's so good to see you, the whole extended family here today. Hi, Mom and Dad, good to see you down there. And Mommy, where's it? And your Mommy too. Oh, great, welcome. Look, you see when the baptism draws them all together. You guys too, right? Yeah. And you came up to me before, Mass, right? I anointed your father. I know you probably before the Father. It's a body. See, all of us are together. You got to get that. And that's what baptism is about. We're being baptized into the body of Christ, which is us. There's something St. Augustine once said years ago. He said, don't look up to heaven for heaven. Don't look up. Look at one another. Because that's where Jesus dwells. We're the mystical body of Christ, right? And that's what these kids are being brought into. Even little Damien back here, who's being a normal child. And that's okay. That's fine. I don't know, a few weeks ago I was with my niece in England, and it came time for the consecration of the Mass, and the Father's supposed to be very quiet and holy and like this, and really good. And, well, my niece has 4 children, all boys, age 7, 5, 3, and 1. I had the 1-year-old, and I was feeding the bottle in that kid. I was not kneeling down. But I knew it was Jesus coming in the Eucharist. I knew that was happening. But you do what you got to do, right? You do what you got to do. So I like kids at Mass. You know that? Because they're part of the body of Christ. You notice we don't have a crying room here. You know why they did that? It's because the kids should be in here. If the kids mess around, you take them outside for a minute, then you bring them back in. Because they're all part of the body of Christ. But you know, we pour so much into the kids. And it strikes me that we all hope for the best for them, right? And yet I hear a lot of parents telling me, I don't know what I did wrong. I sent the kids to school. I sent them to religious ed. I sent them to a Catholic school, and they don't go to church anymore. Heard that? Mm-hmm. I've heard teachers tell me, you know, I worked really hard in order to share the faith with the kids in my religious ed class. And I see them years later, some are religious and some are atheists. What happens? Well, that's precisely the question that Matthew is getting at in the gospel today. It really is. Matthew's not so much concerned about what the sower is. The sower is God, of course. But he's concerned with what was happening in the early church. See, because they were really worried. They were bothered by this fact that so many people could have been with them, could have heard the sermon, could have been there standing alongside the shore. And some people said yes, and other people said, why is that happening? And their loved ones were not following. It was also a time of persecution, and sometimes not yet the killing of people, knocking off their heads, but persecution inside of families. Remember, Matthew's writing to Jewish people. And those who converted, who became Christian, who followed Jesus, many times were ostracized from their families. It's a form of persecution. And then some of them recanted and changed and did not follow Jesus anymore. That's the question that he's trying to answer. And his answer is really important for us to get a hold of. The answer that Matthew comes up with is, people must be receptive to the faith. You've got to have an openness, a receptiveness. And then what you go on then to look at and say, well, what's happening to the receptiveness of people who are like the people on the ground, where it doesn't grow, it just falls on their head and goes away. They're not receptive to the Word of God. Other people are receptive to it, and they get you-rah-rah right away, and they get turned up, but it's not deep, and they fall away quickly. Then there are the other people that are like, their hearts are like jungles with all kinds of stuff. And those things push out faith, and they're not open to hearing what God might want to say because they like what they want to say. I was mentioning this morning, gee, nobody does sin unless they see some good for themselves in it. Think about it. What might be the good? It might be pleasure. It might be gaining something. It might be covering up. We tell a lie. That's what we're doing. The good is I'm covering up for myself. I won't get caught. But the lie is still a sin. And those things in our lives are the things that crowd out faith, crowd out sharing our faith. And there are other things that do it too, like Facebook. What? I heard on ESPN yesterday an interesting thing. They were talking about the fact that the people who where they asked the question, this was their question, so like survey question. How often do you have to refresh your Facebook page to keep up? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Some people say every hour. I mean, is that you living your life around Facebook? Or Twitter or whatever? I always have to be totally up to date, on top of it all. That crowds out all kinds of things in your life, like God. At supper time, you got these families. I know there's Michelle, she does this with her family. Remember those old things you used to hang on your door and you put shoes in it? You know, like a shoe hanger thing? She's got it in the kitchen. Kids come to supper, they got to put the phone in the shoe rack. Why? Because otherwise, it was the restaurant the other night. Who's talking? They're not. It's crowding out not only relationships with people, but relationships with God. And the whole point of this sin is that you and I have to be very careful about what's crowding out God in our lives. So then what do we do about it? And what does he offer there? Well, openness. You have to be like the good ground where you allow the Lord to put his word inside of our lives. And that's what you got to do. And that's what you parents said do a big job. You parents, how will these kids ever be open to God unless you give them the example of openness to God? Really important. And to look in your lives and say, you know, you can't do this thing about do what I say, not what I do. I mean, the principal of the school, head of religious ed, told me what blows their minds is when people send their kids to the school and send their kids to religious ed, but they never take them to Mass. Blows their minds. Because what they're teaching the kids is, it's nice to hear all this stuff, but do it? Nope. Nope. And what they're teaching the kids is, it's not important. It's not important. The kids eventually are going to have to listen on their own, just like you and I as adults have to do also. There comes a time in our life when we say it's time now to be open. It's time now to what does God have to say about me and my life and how I'm living it? Where does he want me to go? What's going to happen after I die? Where do I go then? It all depends on how we live our lives now. And there are two things I want to say about that. One thing is that the most important thing is love. And those of us who have to deal with this in their families, we have to love those people who don't seem to be open to God. And how do you do that? God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You listen before you talk. You listen twice as much as you talk. Because as you listen to people, eventually they come around to say, well, what clicks in you? What happens in you? And then you can share. And then you can share where God is in your life. And then they themselves can grow. When the receptiveness is there, then they can grow. And remember, receptiveness can come in all kinds of different ways. Some people are just sort of more open-minded. Other people need a crisis to get them going. I don't care how it happens. But that it happens is what's important. And so you parents here, pour out your love on these kids. They're beautiful children. Allow them to know God through your example. And of course, it says that in the ritual. You're going to hear that again and again and again in the ritual. Because this is what is really important. And this is how we will bring up children who will become receptive to the Word of God, and then they will bear fruit 30, 60, 100-fold. Amen? Amen. Okay, so now